My wife Gwen took a sip of wine, paused for a deep breath, and fixed her gaze on me with a serious expression after we finished our Valentine's Day dinner together. Valentine's Day had always been significant for us since our marriage 22 years ago, becoming our cherished tradition. We couldn't afford restaurants in the beginning, so we dressed up and dined at home, a practice we maintained to make the occasion special. Tonight, I wore a tuxedo and Gwen looked stunning as always in a form-fitting red dress, her dark brown hair elegantly styled earlier in the day, seeming more beautiful with each passing year. With the arrival of our children, Valentine's Day became even more meaningful, a chance to reconnect amidst the chaos they brought into our lives. It was a pillar that supported our marriage. Our son Jake was spending the night at Gwen's parents', and our daughter Charlotte was away at college in her final year. "Matthew, we need to talk," Gwen said, using my full name, signaling a serious discussion ahead. She often did this when the topic was weighty. "Matthew, I love you. Matthew, I'm pregnant. Matthew, we need to marry before the baby is born. Matthew, I'm pregnant again. Matthew, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Matthew, I want to go back to work." You get the idea. So, with some apprehension, I asked, "What's on your mind?" My brow furrowed. "Well, we've been married a long time now, and lately, I've been reflecting a lot on my past, especially my sexual history," she began. "Okay," I responded cautiously, feeling a chill run down my spine. The mention of her sex life, not ours, hinted that something significant was brewing. "As you know, you were my only sexual partner. However, you were experienced when we met," she continued. "I had only been with 2 other girls before we got together," I chuckled in disbelief. "I wasn't exactly experienced sexually, maybe inept, if anything." "Anyway, go on." "The point is, you had been with 2 other girls, and I got pregnant with Charlotte just a few months into our relationship," Gwen continued. "The only mistake I've never regretted," I smiled. Truthfully, at the time, I was panicked. Young, foolish, and scared of becoming a father too soon. A stern talk from my father set me straight. Gwen and I got married, yes, a shotgun wedding, with my dad metaphorically holding the shotgun, and against the odds, our marriage thrived. It held together long enough to welcome Jake into our lives a few years later. But now, I sensed Gwen was about to disrupt our happy marriage. Gwen smiled in response to my comment, saying, "I feel the same way." Her expression then turned serious as she continued, "I've been thinking a lot about what it would be like to have sex with other men. It's something I really want to explore. In short, I'd like us to consider opening up our marriage." "Shit," I whispered, my heart nearly stopping in my chest. Her revelation felt like a massive wrench thrown into our relationship. "What do you think?" she asked calmly, which perturbed me deeply. She dropped a bombshell on our marriage without seeming nervous about my reaction. "Christ, Gwen!" I exclaimed, trying to steady myself. "You're asking me this on Valentine's Day? Our special night? Is this a final decision? What if I say no?" "I really hope you won't say no. This is important to me, but it doesn't mean I love you any less," she reassured me, her voice devoid of emotion. "Considering where we started, you've made me the happiest woman in the world. I don't want our marriage to end. This isn't about you, it's about me wanting to experience sex with other men. How long do you plan to continue this experience? How many men do you want to be with before you're satisfied?" I asked, my intuition sensing something amiss. "I don't know the answers to those questions," she replied calmly. "I just know it's something I feel I need to do." "Right," I said, realizing I needed clarity. "So, how would this work? If we open our marriage, would you be okay with me sleeping with other women?" "No," Gwen said firmly, emphasizing the distinction between me and us. "I couldn't handle you being with other women." I burst into hysterical laughter at her response. "Are you serious?" I asked incredulously. "You get to sleep with other men, and I'm supposed to sit at home waiting, feeling humiliated like a cuckold, and I can't be with other women?" "Don't be crude, Matt," Gwen snapped. "This isn't about us, it's about me scratching an itch. I can't believe you're making this so difficult. It's not a big deal. Many married couples do this and still have happy marriages." What do you mean, not a big deal? Can you name one couple? I challenged. Gwen sat in silence, her face clouded with anger, unable to meet my eyes. Where do you plan to meet these other men? I asked pointedly, sensing no forthcoming answer. Well, I would meet them wherever I find a man who catches my eye, like at the office or... Do you already have someone in mind? I interjected suspiciously, cutting her off. It didn't seem coincidental that she mentioned the office first. When she blushed deeply, I had my answer. The truth was about to come out. Gwen observed me closely as I poured myself another large glass of wine. Will you agree to open our marriage or not? She pressed, a hint of urgency in her voice. My reaction had clearly indicated my reluctance, and I sensed her anxiety at not receiving the answer she wanted. I almost downed my wine in one gulp before responding. Here's the thing, Gwen. Everything you've told me is nonsense, isn't it? Matt, how dare you? I wanted us to come to a decision together, as a couple, she retorted angrily. Ha! A decision together, you say, I replied with indignation. What's gotten into you? Gwen's expression now showed fury. Mark Taylor, I sneered, locking eyes with her. Who? Gwen's anger evaporated instantly, replaced by the nerves that had been conspicuously absent before. Cut the act. I was furious now. Mark Taylor, your colleague at work. He joined your company about 8 months ago. Clearly, he's caught your eye, and you his, because you've been seeing each other behind my back. How long has it been? 3 or 4 months? How's that for a mutual decision? Looks to me like you've already opened up our marriage. I don't recall giving you permission to experience Marky Boy. Under normal circumstances, Gwen's expression would have been worth capturing in a photo. Her mouth hung open, eyes wide with disbelief. I could practically see her mind racing. How did I find out? When did I figure it out? How much did I know? Before she composed herself and asked, how can I salvage this? Yes, I admit I've been interested in Mark, she admitted carefully, and we've talked about being intimate. But we agreed we wouldn't proceed without your consent. Without my consent? What if I say no? I challenged again. Gwen fell silent, her anger simmering beneath the surface. Are you seriously telling me nothing has happened between you two? No sex, no kissing, no dates? I demanded. Okay, we've been on a few dates, Gwen reluctantly admitted. And yes, we've kissed, but we haven't slept together. It seemed like she was trickling out the truth, revealing a bit at a time. Right, I responded, unimpressed. Is Mark's wife okay with this? Gwen looked surprised and disbelieving before replying confidently, yes, she is. Mark practices polyamory, and so does his wife, Clarissa. She's perfectly fine with it and even has a secondary partner. Polyamory is something I'm interested in exploring too. Just for you, not for me, I stated flatly. Gwen started to get flustered, realizing I was catching on, but unsure of how much I already knew. Well, open relationships and polyamory aren't for everyone, and I knew it wouldn't be for you, she tried to explain. Open relationship or polyamory, which is it? I teased, enjoying her discomfort. They're different things. I don't know yet, that's why I want to explore both, she admitted, sounding unsure. Both? Open relationships involve being in a primary relationship but having freedom within agreed boundaries. Polyamory is about having loving relationships with more than one person. Does Mark know about your intentions, or have you not told him yet? I probed further. Gwen's mouth opened and closed, unable to find the right words. This was becoming too easy. No, that's not what I meant, she finally said, her desperation evident. This conversation clearly wasn't going the way she had hoped. She looked dismayed, caught with her defenses down. What did you mean then? Also, I don't recall signing up for polyamory or an open marriage when we got married. Let's face it, you just want me to give you permission to cheat after you've already started with Mark. You want to have an affair while keeping the security of our marriage, making me the perfect cuckold, isn't that right? I concluded, seeing the shock on her face as she struggled to respond. Fed up, I added, God, this has gotten boring. I thought this would be more challenging. Leaving Gwen with a confused expression, I took out my phone and made a call. Hi, Clarissa, how's Valentine's Day over there? I'm ready to serve, I joked. I got her tied up in so many knots, she won't be able to untangle herself. My disbelief was evident as I heard Clarissa's response. He said, what? Open relationship and polyamory? That's almost exactly what Gwen said. I can't believe they rehearsed this together. I'm in a polyamorous relationship with a bisexual woman now? I burst into laughter, imagining Clarissa laughing on the other end too. Mark's on his knees in tears begging? Good for you. How's Gwen handling it? Her face must be priceless. She can't comprehend what's happening. All right, let's get on with it. It's been great catching up. Let's talk more once the dust settles. Bye, Clarissa. Gwen's expression shifted from confusion to sheer mortification as she realized I was talking to Mark's wife and that their carefully orchestrated plan had backfired spectacularly. It struck me how naive they were in their deceit. Gwen had begun the conversation in control, but it crumbled in an instant as she realized I held all the leverage. In that moment, I felt an unprecedented sense of power. I stood up and went to our home office, returning with 2 envelopes and a pen. Handing one envelope to Gwen, I explained, we had planned to have both of you served at your office, but the cost was exorbitant. I think I'm in the wrong business. Clarissa devised this plan. Beneath her sweet demeanor lies a cunning mind. Anyway, you've been served. Inside is a separation agreement. I paused, watching her reaction. It outlines that you'll need to move out, details the separation of our finances, temporary custody arrangements for Jake, and stipulates that Mark must stay at least 100 feet away from this house and cannot meet Jake. Charlotte, being an adult, can decide for herself whether she wants to see Mark or not. Could you sign it so I can give a copy to my lawyer? Gwen stared blankly at the document before mechanically signing it. I doubted she had even read it, still processing the shock and disbelief of the situation. How, she managed to ask, her charade crumbling. Yes, how indeed, I replied calmly, sitting back down with her and opening the second envelope. I've known for quite some time. I can't pinpoint exactly when your infidelity started, but I have a good idea. I laid out some of their text messages on the table. There's quite a bit of explicit content here, things you've never said to me. You went through my phone? Gwen exclaimed. Of course, I stated matter-of-factly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this evidence. I then placed several photos in front of her showing her and Mark kissing, cuddling, on dates, and dining together, clearly behaving like a couple. The images alone were damning. You had us followed? Gwen asked incredulously. I nodded. Clarissa and I hired a private investigator together. This photo, I pointed to one of Gwen and Mark entering a hotel, was taken on my birthday. You told me it was an urgent business trip, but instead, you were with Mark at a hotel. It doesn't take much to figure out what you were doing there, does it? You couldn't even give me one day. That was a new low, Gwen. Did I deserve such disrespect? I didn't intend to cheat, Gwen began, attempting to justify herself. It just happened. You were always working, never with me. I was lonely, and Mark became a good friend at the office. I liked the attention he gave me. One thing led to another, and we fell for each other. If you were home more, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Her expression turned quizzical as she looked at a picture of text messages. These are from Mark's phone, she exclaimed. I didn't mean to find out, I retorted, echoing Gwen's tone. You got a message from Mark while you were in the shower, likely after you had been with him. I was already suspicious. Your work attire became more revealing. I found lingerie I'd never seen before. I caught a glimpse of the message, and that was enough for me to check your phone, where I hit the jackpot. When I figured out who he was, I looked into whether Mark was married. He has 3 kids younger than Jake. How could you? That's when I reached out to Clarissa through Facebook. She's a decent woman, neither of you deserved what you did to her. Once she saw the evidence, we pooled everything we had. I can't believe you're blaming me for your affair. Do you think money for Charlotte's university, our mortgage, or Jake's food magically appears? That's responsibility, Gwen. Clearly, I'm the only one taking our responsibilities seriously. My anger was palpable. Despite my fury, I remained surprisingly calm. One might expect shouting accusations or tearful pleas to Gwen to come back and promise to be a better husband. Truthfully, I had already been through all of that. Clarissa and I had supported each other through this ordeal. Relief was my prevailing emotion that this nightmare was finally reaching its conclusion. A thought struck me, and I sent a few brief messages. Moments later, Gwen's phone rang. From the heated conversation I overheard, I knew it was Charlotte. "Honey, sweetheart, let me explain." Gwen pleaded desperately into the phone. "It's not what you think. Please, don't do this. I love you." Gwen slowly lowered the phone from her ear, tears streaming down her face. "You told Charlotte." "How could you?" my soon-to-be ex-wife screamed at me, distraught. "I had every right to. It's called facing consequences, Gwen." "I told Jake and our parents too," I shot back, my anger rising. "What?" Gwen screamed in dread as her phone rang again. "Mom, please just listen." Gwen couldn't get a word in. She looked utterly crushed. "She wants to talk to you," Gwen said quietly, handing me her phone. "Hello, Jill," I greeted flatly over the phone. "Matt, I'm so sorry again for what Gwen has done. It's not how we raised her. I admit we had doubts about you when you got her pregnant with Charlotte, but you stepped up and became a man. You turned out to be the best thing that happened to Gwen." "I'm sorry you didn't get the same in return," Jill expressed remorsefully. "I think Gwen realizes that now. Charlotte doesn't want to see her again. I think it would be best if Jake comes home tomorrow once we've both calmed down." I know he was upset when I explained everything to him, I responded, trying to manage the situation with Jake. "Good luck, Matt. Please keep in touch. I'd hate to lose touch with you," Jill said sincerely. "Goodbye, Jill, and thank you," I replied, ending the call. Turning back to Gwen, I fixed her with a hard stare. "I want you to know that I haven't told your workplace about your affair. I know they have a strict no fraternization policy. I was ready to do it, but Clarissa convinced me not to, worried about losing child support and alimony in her own divorce," I explained. Gwen visibly relaxed at this revelation. "I was also prepared to move you into the spare room, but I'm not sure I can bear sleeping in our bedroom again, knowing what you've done to our bed and to yourself. This Valentine's Day has been an absolute disaster. Thanks for ruining our special night." Gwen stared back at me blankly, looking utterly alone and broken. After that night, I never celebrated Valentine's Day again. It became a bitter reminder of what Gwen had done to me, how she had shattered something that had been special between us. Write your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a great day.